I'd be terrified if the pilot took a shortcut and didn't do the same thing. Humanoids are very relevant in manufacturing because our manufacturing systems, we enable humans, and human capacity being scarce. When should we be done? When is this system working well enough that the customer can now take it? It's okay to mess it up. It's fine. Just let's learn from it, let's fix it, and let's move it on.
Welcome to The Business Game, the show that breaks business down into real levels from zero to over $50 billion, so founders can see exactly where they are and what comes next. Today's guest is playing at level 7, which sits in the $500 million to $1 billion bracket, the global expansion stage. At this level, the company operates across countries, cultures, and risk environments. The challenges? Multi-country leadership, international expansion, risk management, and early-stage M&A. The goal? Design a global organization that can execute consistently across borders.
Hello, and welcome to The Business Game. I'm Kalina Stenna.
And I'm Steve Plummer.
Make sure to like and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. We're joined today by Darragh de Stonndún, CEO of Automated Industrial Robotics, a global automation company with more than 550 people across the US, UK, and Ireland. Over the past 25 years, he's helped transform Air from a collection of regional engineering businesses into a single global automation platform.
Today, Darragh is leading a $180 million business through its next phase of growth, integrating acquisitions across 3 countries, navigating the rise of physical AI and humanoid robotics, and betting that one day the data generated by industrial robots could become even more valuable than the robots themselves. Let's dive in with Darragh de Stonndún.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Darragh. Really excited to jump in this conversation with you. You're a busy man, so thank you.
Yeah, likewise.
For our listeners who are meeting you for the first time, can you talk us through specifically what Automated Industrial Robotics builds?
Yeah, so at Air, we build manufacturing systems, automated manufacturing systems for Fortune 100 companies that produce everyday products. I'd say even all the way down to Australia, our products you've touched, be that medical device, orthopedics, hips, knees, syringes, car components, car batteries, roof liners, cleaning detergents from your house. Our manufacturing systems, the automated systems, help those customers produce those parts and bring them to market for us to consume.
Wow, that's incredible. So if we rewind back to the beginning, who was young Darragh, and what were the specific chapters that led you to become the CEO of Air?
Yeah, I obviously from my accent, I grew up in Ireland, had an apprenticeship at Guinness's, fell in love with automating things, making people's lives easier through engineering. And in the very, very early days, the first piece of automation I did was that it was a drink that Guinness had, and you'd poured it, and there was 2 nozzles, and out of it came the white and the black, and you had like a Bailey's type drink. And in that, we had to automate because people that were putting the screws on the bottles, they now had to put 2 screws on the bottles. So we made a tool that made people put 2 lids on the bottles at the same time. So I fell in love with engineering ideas at a very, very young age and making people better with that. And with that, I went on a journey to learn about automation, educate myself in the degrees that would enable me to do that. Moved to America to go work at the largest companies that were utilizing automation. And from there, I got the desire to stop engineering systems and build a company around automation and engineering skill sets. And very, very fortunate to be doing the job I am today.
Yeah, wow.
Long journey, 30 years.
That's incredible. And it's...
Somebody should have told me how to do it sooner.
I love that there's the Irish start point with the Guinness.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty
It
cool.
had to be, right? It almost had to be.
Yeah, what a fun starting point.
It's always cliche. I should change that. Yeah.
Have you got a Guinness tap in your house? That's probably the big question.
Maybe that's why it took 30 years.
Yeah.
True.
Oh, funny.
All right, Darragh, you're currently playing at level 7, where businesses stop thinking like regional operators and start thinking like global platforms. So you've said the biggest breakthrough was recognizing AIR couldn't stay a federation of regional integrators. What were you seeing in the business that told you the model had to change?
When you look at our industry, I mean, there's the great thing with lots of competition, you get to really analyze, what works well, what doesn't work. Working with the best customers in the world, you get to hear their pain points. And when I looked at it, when we set out and building AIR, as you said, we've acquired 6 businesses to date. Each business operating on its own will only ever be as big as it can be. And you reach a level where process, systems, culture, capital become necessary to take it past that next level. So when you think about founder-led businesses, and I'm not saying this is the case with every business. There's been breakthroughs where small businesses have scaled very, very large. But in a lot of cases, the processes, the systems are not in place to allow a founder-led business to distribute that workload, distribute the responsibility to allow that company to grow and flourish. And that's one of the biggest things we certainly saw at AIR. And I saw it in being able to serve our customers in the way that they expect in the fast-paced world. What we build for customers in Ireland, our customers also operate in America, and the expectation is that we can do the same in America. So that forces that heavy integration to become a company with a global presence and not single entities operating and serving customers, but being that collective company.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this might sound like a simplistic question, but how did you know what to do?
Knowing what to do is, I mean, there's no playbook as such. And in businesses, in good businesses and great businesses, there isn't necessarily a playbook that says if this, then that. In engineering terms, you're closer to that, right? And programming and things like that.
Yeah.
As a business, it's about developing that team, developing that culture that allows us to react.
Yes.
The best thing about AIR is, we set a path, we're designing something, we're working on something. Everyday life happens. And our ability to be able to pivot and deal with that as a team has informed how to do it. Listening to our customer needs, listening to the engineering needs and our system needs, and being able to react as a team to change, to the challenge and to the opportunity that's in front of us is really what's led us to be where we are today. So it's not one person as such.
Yes.
It's the culture, the company, and the team that allow us to react in a way that enables us to be successful.
Yeah. So just one quick follow-up question on that. The way you changed the model from that federation of individual companies to a more homogenous company that could serve bigger markets, what was the potential cost of not changing your operating model?
The cost would have been, I mean, if I start with culture, we as a company, the culture formed by enabling us to work together. And that formed a very unique culture between England, Ireland, and America. And I put that as the biggest cost. Developing and harnessing that culture that allows us to do the things that you just asked, that allows us to react, allows us to pivot, allows us to be informed and collaborate as a team. So not doing it, I think that would have been the biggest sacrifice. The second would be showing up for our customers in a more meaningful way, in how much our customers can depend on us across the globe and not being reliant on one facility. That would have been the second thing. And that's what would have sacrificed if we hadn't have done that.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So Darragh, I'm really curious. I don't think you can have a business conversation anymore without talking about AI. And I think in robotics, we're really going to lean in here. So everyone's talking about AI right now, but you've been very deliberate in focusing on physical AI, particularly humanoid robotics. So you've said the real opportunity is the last 20% of manufacturing. So the variable, manual tasks that conventional automation can't solve. Can you tell us what that means?
When you look at manufacturing, so yes, I agree with you. AI is the center of everything. And for us as a business, we're not a startup. We're an established business working with customers that need to bring real products to market, products that we all depend on. So we're not a playground for new technologies. We have to deploy proven technologies. It's similar to an airplane. You don't play around with an airplane. You want to make sure that that's safe and it's thought through. And with AI, we're very, very cautious about what tools we deploy that enable our system. And when I look at what we build today, we build amazing manufacturing systems that bring those products to life. And when you look at the manufacturing in general, and I'll speak only for America for a second, the manufacturing efficiency of equipment can be around 60 to 80%. 80% being great, meaning the equipment is available to produce 80% of the time, similar to us working Monday through Friday and taking Saturday, Sunday off. The automation doesn't. And that inefficiency is driven through facts of manufacturing life, be it tolerance stack-ups, people efficiency, building environmental requirements, whatever that would be. 20% of the time in a great case, sometimes bigger, but at 20% of the time, the machines are not working. Lost productivity. And focusing AI into that, it makes our machines are great and they'll iterate and become better and new technologies will emerge into them and they'll become better. But the biggest opportunity in front of us is being able to help that 80% become 90% and 95%. Whether it'll ever be 100% is a thing, but that's where our focus is, and taking new tools, new ways to assess data and inform ourselves is really where we spend a lot of time in that.
Yeah, sure. Just for anyone who might not fully understand what physical AI is, could you give just a quick little summary or describer?
No. Of course I can. Yeah. So you look at the physical AI is when you're actually taking something and seeing the impact outside of the machine. So when you think about robotics and you see them moving, today when you look at a robot, it's quite complicated to program, but the robot is doing what it's told to do. It's instructed, it's scripted, it's a play as such, it's orchestrated by systems. AI becomes much more disconnected from needing a set of rules in order for it to perform. The robot and the AI then becomes physical when it starts to take over that physical world, be that in something that's moving around and interacting in our world. The physical AI then it becomes physical, it becomes outside of the machine in something that we can see moving and not in a ChatGPT type environment when the computer screen is talking back to you, as real and as human as that feels. The physical AI is when we can connect physical devices into the AI, into the neural networks to have them interact in the physical world.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. So where is physical AI at currently, sort of behind the scenes?
It's advancing at a very, very fast pace. Robotics, humanoids, you speak about humanoids. Humanoids are very relevant in manufacturing because our manufacturing systems, we enable humans, and human capacity being scarce in a lot of cases. Humanoids are an obvious go-to, and there's a lot of companies out there developing and deploying humanoid robotics. They will need to work hand in hand with manufacturing systems, and AI will drive that and inform them and enable them. There's a lot of AI being used in manufacturing today, be that the writing of software, vision systems. So when we look at quality, if you think about a self-driving car, a self-driving car is almost impossible to program it and tell it all instances that it's going to encounter.
Yes.
So the AI is able to do that by being able to make a decision based on being educated. You do see a lot of that starting to come in vision systems when you're looking at product quality and inspecting. So if you're inspecting a painted surface, it's very, very difficult to program and tell a vision system all of the imperfections that it might see in order for it to catch it and deem it a reject. And we see AI today being utilized heavily to open up that spectrum and educate those systems and train those systems in what to be looking for, and have it determine then through its education what good and bad is. So we see a lot of that going on, and we as consumers are getting better products due to that. The output is greater because the margin of what is good and bad can be extended, and you don't have to limit that in to be able to deem a part bad. So volumes can increase, and that does touch to that 80 to that 20% of inefficiencies. They're elements where AI can help us produce more and produce better.
Yeah, right.
So it's evolving fast, and it's awfully exciting.
Yeah.
Awfully exciting.
Why do you believe that that's where...
Far from scary. It's
Not far from... You're not scared?
Wow, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. Yeah, no. Certainly not in the manufacturing. I'm not scared. That struck a note with you.
I was going to ask why you're not scared by that, because a lot of people change, rapid change, in a very uncertain world. Why does that not scare you?
I guess I come from a space that, we deploy and engineer technologies, so we need to understand them very well, and we embrace them. Everything we do in automation, we embrace technologies. And when we look at AI, put the question of where's AI in 10 years for humanity, I can't answer that or touch that or form a view on that.
Yeah.
In the manufacturing, AI is going to be is one of the most enabling technologies that we've seen in such a long time.
Yeah.
And embracing those technologies, I've seen what it can do for people. I see what it does at Air. I see what it does for our customers. It makes us so much better, so much more efficient. And when a human is more efficient, it's amazing what we can do. And it really is a tool. If you go back to the calculator, or you go back to mechanical drawings being with pencils and paper and rulers, as fun as that was, and when software came in and started to kind of automate that made us better, that made us quicker, that made us more efficient, that allows us to iterate products. I get awfully excited about the products that are going to come to market at maybe a faster pace. AI is going to, in manufacturing, really help analyze tolerance stack-ups, make manufacturing better. You think about medicine, the ability that AI is going to give us to get to a conclusion faster, to be able to simulate things quicker, to take out some human error in some cases. So what products are going to be created and how manufacturing is going to be, I think, is awfully exciting. And people that embrace that technology and understand it are going to be awfully powerful in the job that they do. And that's definitely a culture at Air that we drive, is one of curiosity and to embrace tools and put them to a good use. The biggest risk with it, I guess, where I would be, not to sound naive in it, but where I would be worried is, taking shortcuts with tools could be very dangerous, right? In utilizing AI, where it might feel, I can get this email written quicker, or please respond to this. I feel like taking shortcuts with it is the bigger risk, and then that we start to lose the true substance of the matter. So we definitely try to avoid that all the time, to understand to use it as a productivity tool, and understand when you're about to take a shortcut and think about that twice. That we don't want. That we absolutely
I'm really glad
want.
you mentioned that. I think we had another guest speak about that as well, about AI can be quite addictive, and I think that you're sort of leaning into that in a certain way, in that if it's a shortcut,
it's just easy, right?
It's easy.
Instant world.
Yeah. But shortcut, I think what you've said there, you've highlighted, is very important. In that, don't be using it as a shortcut, and use it as a tool that for what it's built for, which I think is really important. So thank you for sharing that.
Exactly. That is exactly it. We in mature systems, shortcut. If I go back to the airplane, because I spend a lot of time in them, I'd be terrified if the pilot took a shortcut and didn't do the same thing, even though they just landed it. They still get out, they do the checks, they go through it. They're not taking any shortcuts. And in manufacturing, the systems that we have developed over decades, the technologies, the standards, the know-how, like that didn't come from taking shortcuts. And that's the risk as these things get deployed, is doing it in the right way. So very, very focused on that. But yeah, amazing technology. And in manufacturing, we're just going to get better products. I think it's great.
Yeah, wow. And with all of that, how do you see Air moving forward with the way that you're structuring and utilizing AI with Air? How do you see that in the future? Do you see yourself leading that market? Yeah, what's in store there?
I'd love to lead a market. But the automation industry is so big.
Yes.
I hope all of the automation companies embrace the technologies and bring them to market. The OEMs that we acquire components from, that's definitely a collective that we can push the initiative of enabling manufacturing to be better than it is today. That's something we all have to do, and we play our part in that. AI will, when you think about the time it takes to build our systems, AI will reduce that time scale in bringing manufacturing systems to market, which we get very excited about medical devices. Being able to deliver a medical device line faster and get product to consumers quicker together with our customers is something that we're very excited about. That has a big impact on us as consumers, and AI will do that. And I think AI will make people that interact and use automation, they'll be able to speak to it, talk to it, interact with it different. They'll be able to do additional things. They will be able to educate themselves further. And if you think about programming today with AI, I wrote a small side story on it. I have a motorcycle here that didn't have a fuel gauge on it, and I guess the older you get, the more of an inconvenience that is. And I sat down one night and I was like, I wonder, could you make an app that you could tell the app when you filled it with gas, and then with the GPS on your iPhone or your phone, would it be able to track the miles driven and create like a virtual fuel tank? And I was like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. So I went looking and tried to find something like that and couldn't really find something like that. So I said, you know what? We use AI and we write programs. I wonder, could I create an iPhone app that does exactly this? So I did. And I did that without writing or knowing how to write a piece of code. And it took 4 hours. And about 50 of my friends have it now.
Oh.
And when I think about it, that's using AI. That is maybe a silly example, but if I that don't know how to program, but I can take an idea and turn it into a product without knowing how to program, like there are opportunities to be able to embrace those tools and do something very creative. Not that an app in that sense is creative, but embracing those tools as individuals. And when I think about the manufacturing, how we can make people better and more productive and open up those avenues using these tools, I think is very exciting. And I think that's where AI will ultimately take in the manufacturing space, make things more efficient, faster to market, more reliable, more dependable, and ultimately get us better products.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Darragh, I want to, I guess, talk a little bit about on the ground. I mean, being in the manufacturing space, big outlay, capital outlay in terms of, warehouses, machines and so forth. And sometimes it can be a chicken and egg thing. Can we afford that investment or not? How have you gone about decision making around big capital investments?
We as a company, when we get hired to build a manufacturing system, it's very much hand in hand. That capital investment is being made by our customer to invest in the manufacturing to bring those products to market. right? So customers, when they're trying to make that decision, it really comes down to the quality that needs to be produced, the volumes that need to be produced, and the market demand. And we tailor our systems around our customers' business plan. We try to lock onto that as close as
I
possible.
see.
What are the tolerance? What are the qualities? What are the speeds? What are the outputs? And what do they need to make their business model work? And we back into that and engineer the solution for that, which is driving then to driving to the decision for that capital investment. We as a company ourselves, when we're making capital investments in our technologies, our training, our people, our facilities, that is all those decisions are made around the long term and what we are doing to enable ourselves to be that technology, that engineering, that automation partner for our customers. And every investment we make is anchored in that. Are we making ourselves better for the long term to serve our customers and the bigger purpose that we're fulfilling?
Okay.
Oh, right.
All right. So I want to look ahead now in terms of I don't know, a huge statement, a controversial statement you might have made, in that you've said that the data coming from deployed industrial machines could one day become more valuable than the machines themselves. So help us understand, I guess, the commercial logic behind that. What data is being created and who ultimately will pay for it?
Yes, good question.
We live in a data-rich world. Today automation is also, I guess, if you think about it's hard to buy a bad car, right? If I go back 20 years, like, cars don't necessarily break down. It's hard to buy a bad car. If you're brand agnostic, right? Cars have become quite commoditized. They all work, and it's the nuance that attracts you to them. And automation, the componentry has become so reliable. Automation systems across the board, I wouldn't say they're commoditized. They're heavily engineered, but the componentry within them is somewhat commoditized. Robots are built in the millions. They work. They're reliable. So you have to say, what is that next step in the value creation in the automation and the manufacturing system? And it does start to get to the data. How will your systems run better? Because they all already work very well and they work good. So how do you make a good system great? And we are users of technology, so we're somewhat dependent on technologies advancing that we can deploy in a way that isn't considered reckless. So our machines continue to perform the way our customers expect. And when we start to look at the data informs us what the machine is doing. There is terabytes of data running through our systems, sensors, temperatures, speeds, like an unbelievable amount of process data. When we assemble something, if you think about a motor, in a motor, there's a shaft, and that motor is pressed in to the stack of the motor. And that press force enables the shaft and the motor to spin together, not to slip, not to break. And that's an engineered design. And in that, we set ourselves tolerances. The design for manufacturing, you design your smallest case and your biggest case, and then you make sure that all those scenarios will fit and the product will function. The data that the machines collect will show you variability in a process. And when you want to make a process better, make a process more reliable, the answer to that is not just good parts coming off the line. It is, how do you optimize that? How do you optimize your supply chain to make a tolerance looser? If you make a tolerance more loose, the less expensive that part is. The more accurate a part is required to be, the more expensive that component is. So if you want to analyze and optimize, the optimization of that lies within the data, and the automation system collects that. It generates the data, collects it, and then you would have to come to the conclusion that that data is very, very valuable to it. Our customers own that data. They run the machines. It's their data. But what do we do with that data? How do we analyze that data? How do we inform those engineering decisions that can make a product potentially less expensive, make a product better, or iterate it? And that's where that data becomes very, very valuable. And in the world that we are living in today, artificial intelligence is amazing at analyzing such data and masses of data that aren't really designed for human consumption. They are collected by the terabytes, and AI is well able to assess that really, really quickly. And when we engage with that, we are able to analyze it and make those suggestions back to our customer. And I believe that that data is very, very valuable as a source of optimization for products and automation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow.
Mm.
So, Darragh, you're competing for work alongside much larger automation companies. So, when a customer is also talking to, let's say, a tier 1 integrator with 10 times your headcount, what's the honest case for Air? Where do you genuinely have an edge that isn't simply being cheaper or more flexible?
Mm.
Yeah, it never comes down to really being cheaper or systems. It's the value that has been sold. It comes down to, I've been very fortunate with my partner Brian Kloss, who I co-founded Air with. I've been very, very fortunate to be able to put a business together. Businesses today, the larger systems the companies that you speak of have grown over years, and they've become who they are. And when I listen to customers, there's an agility that gets lost along the way.
Yes.
There's being agile and caring about the really small things, as well as being focused on the big things. And that's where Air plays, that we by design, we will never break the ability to care about the very, very, very small things, the small details that our customers get challenged with. And there's a lot of smaller companies out there that do that. And the problem with that, and why Air came into existence, was customers, if you solve a very, very small problem, that small problem could be the absolute unlock for a product to be iterated and brought to market. So on a $10 million system, a problem that was solved for $50,000, but a lot of know-how and thought that went into it is the unlock for that big system. And when customers work with sometimes smaller companies that can have the time, have the agility, have the focus, because they're not distracted on a $10 million system, typically what happens is the customer says, great, we've solved it. And now they have to go and find that larger integrator. And you have to transport that know-how, that what did we do? What did we learn? And Air, we will forever keep that agility to care and be there for our customers to solve those things that they're struggling with, and also be there to help them scale. There's two things that at Air that we do for our customers. We help them innovate their products. We're not product designers, we're automation designers. So we help them design, and we design the process. We help them solve that manufacturing challenge, and then we help them scale their production. They're the two things that we do, and we'll never break that. So when we go up against a larger competitor, typically, more times than not, we have helped that customer solve that manufacturing problem. And then that's core to us. And that team then is enabled through the size and scale of Air to be that, I wouldn't say one-stop shop, but that partner that can take it from that problem solving through to the larger manufacturing system.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Darragh, can we talk
Staying
about
agile by design?
Yeah.
actually, and just on that, and can we talk about the challenges of running a company at your level? So you're at level 7, and so you've got all of these, I guess, balls in the air simultaneously. You're building for tomorrow. You're maintaining quality. You're looking at innovation and all those sorts of things. So how do you stop all of these things becoming a bit of a muddle, and you keep things on track and growing and humming along? Because it can't be easy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's many easy things left in life, and certainly doing what we do is complicated and difficult. It really comes down to, and it really comes down to Air as a company. We have built such a culture that every person, team, discipline is enabled, and they're rallied around doing it right. Maybe as simple as that sounds, we set ourselves a standard. If we can't do it right, if we can't do it well, it's not for us. And we stay very focused on what we set out with each project, what are the objectives, what are the non-negotiables, what can't we break? And we hold ourselves to that. And that does balance us in, well, there's this new cool technology. You know what? That we risk assess that, and we regulate ourselves by that deliverable. We can't compromise on our deliverable, and it's very self-regulating. And when you have so many disciplines to deliver something, I always go back to Formula One as an example. There's a huge team behind the driver in that car. Any one part of that breaks down, the tire gets on slow. So the smallest of things, every single thing is important, meaningful, and has to function. And at Air, culturally and through our integration, we have enabled that and kept that. And that really keeps us straight, keeps us focused on delivering systems that our customers depend on and we as consumers rely on.
The Business Game is proud to partner with High Level, the all-in-one CRM and marketing platform built for growing businesses. With CRM funnel, website and course builders, marketing automations, email builders, and so much more, High Level software will drive your customer retention and your profits through the stratosphere. And High Level is fully white label, which means you can brand the platform and mobile app with your logo and company colours and then resell it to your customers for a monthly subscription. Ready to go High Level? Click on the link below to begin your 14-day free trial.
So capital formation has now become a part of the conversation for you as your position at Air for acquisitions and the physical AI opportunity. So for someone who built the business through operational excellence rather than the financial engineering, what have you had to learn about thinking and speaking that language of capital?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've spent 30 years engineering solutions and solving problems at the engineering level. And when you look at building the company that we have built today, I have to start thinking different. It's not about what I can solve as an individual, and it's about what the teams are enabled to do, what the teams can build. And when we look at solutions, it's kind of like a painting. When do you stop? It's in the eyes of the painter. When is that finished? And in engineering terms, it's never done. It's never finished. There's a line where the job is done. We've achieved capability. We've achieved what the customer's looking for. And now it's time to pass that off, that somebody can continue to iterate and continue to make better and maintain. And that becomes the financial, when you think about capital decisions, is being able to establish that line. It's never obvious. It's never an obvious line. Oh, there, we're done. It's really testing and iterating and holding that back to the commercial aspect of it. Like when should we be done? When is this system working well enough that the customer can now take it? And knowing when it's good enough and to pass that on. So that has become the biggest challenge, is understanding. We call it the line of compliance. We're always hunting with our customers. What does to be compliant mean? Like, is a product, what's that mean? What does it mean to be compliant? How polite is polite? What is that line? And we establish that line. We hunt for that line with our customers, and that drives financial decisions. What is that line of compliance? And then in our operations, we hold that line of compliance to make sure that we don't over-deliver, we don't under-deliver. Over-delivering can give a more complex system. That's not great. You want a system that's simple to use and reliable, and you don't want a system that doesn't comply. So identifying that line of compliance, holding that line of compliance, and tying that all into a holistic system that is ultimately being decided through a capital acquisition and a business plan has been the biggest challenge, and the culture that we have formed in an engineering business where you can engineer and polish it forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darragh, can we talk a little bit about product development life cycle? One of the things that you've said is that nailing that down really gave your business a spine. And so I'd love you to talk through that, why that was important and what that actually meant.
Yeah, it comes into two things. There's when you have businesses operating around the world, delivering a common objective for customers. We have projects where we have engineers in England, engineers in Ireland, engineers in America working on the same project. Culture, standards, not very different, but they're different, right? And we developed that PDLC model, which we call the spine of what we do, right? We're not changing cultures or the soul of our businesses, right? The spine is we all show up in the same way. We design to the same standard. We've agreed upon what good looks like. We've agreed upon how should the robot be mounted and told where its start position is. So we're all like, okay, it starts at the bottom right. And that's in the how we do it. So when a customer shows up in any of our facilities, the start button's always bottom left. The home button's always top right. And these are maybe simple examples of the spine of how we work, the library of it, the standards. And we've rallied around that as a company, rallied around it, harmonized around it. We've been very, very fortunate to be able to take 6 businesses to date and to be able to say, guys, here's a white piece of paper. You're all really, really good. Let's try come up with an even better way of doing it. And culturally, that's really exciting, because rarely do you get the opportunity to look over into your neighbor's activity or your competitor's activity in that sense to see how they do it. So it was a very, very unique situation, and one that we cherish and one that we enable. And that creates this standard. And what we don't want to break is the soul of a business. And in England and Ireland, there's nuances, there's regional cultures, and we want that soul to stay intact. And then together, AIR creates its soul, where everybody comes together and rallies around that how we deliver. And that how we deliver, we're forever chipping away at it to make it better. And the collaboration that we see when in England or in Ireland or in America, when we've come across something that we might not have seen before, or a different flavor of it, it's like the teams rally around it and say, wow, okay, cool. So that becomes familiar. Maybe like a neural network. And it's like like when one robot experiences something and gets better, all of them get better at the same time. And at AIR, it's very, very similar. When a project manager experiences something in their project, that all of our project managers get that information at the same time through that spine of how we operate. And that has been the one and biggest thing that one of the hardest things to do, that we have done, and something that it's invaluable to us. And I don't think you could ever say there's a playbook to it. It happens. It's bringing the right companies, the right people, the right culture, and really that happened. That happened. But that's what brought that together.
Yeah, wow. And what did it actually take to implement that system across 3 countries and hundreds of people?
That's right. It's a good question, right? Because egos. Human beings are imperfect, right?
That's a lot of navigating. So how did you manage that?
The way we do it in England's better. That's the best way. Although it's a really interesting question. Yeah.
Well, they won't be saying that after the soccer today. For sure, I'll hear that tomorrow when my colleagues are online. It is very, very hard to do. And one person, when we go back to founder-led businesses, at AIR, we had to make sure that our business grows and scales through processes, rigorous process and integration, for us to be able to scale and continue to grow. And we can never limit ourselves around a handful of people. It's about how do you enable an organization for that change. And we set out in each of our disciplines. There's about 18 different disciplines that are core to what we do. And we established through those businesses, from each of our facilities and companies that we acquired, we said, you're part of that team. This isn't a dictated, we are doing it this way. Like that, I mean, I think to your point on humans, I think the majority of people, if you tell them what to do, they'll say, no,
Yes.
I'm not doing that.
Yes, yeah.
And
We're a bit like that, aren't we?
that's
Us
just
humans?
that's just fact of life.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I'm definitely not doing it now. So there's no point in trying that. And there's a lot of examples in the industry where maybe things like that didn't lead to success. And we took the approach, it is a collaborative effort, and we established working groups that lead that function. And those teams were empowered with the vision. They were empowered with what the output was. And those teams collaborated together. And I am sure I was not in those, but I am sure, because there was tiebreakers, we do it like this here and we do this like that there, and we challenged and we grappled and we came then to a decision and said, this is the way that we will do it. And not only that is only a point in time. Our business is forever iterating. Technologies are changing, challenges are being solved, and our process iterates all the time. So if one person felt, oh, my way was better, but I'll go with it because that's the majority, over time, I can guarantee you that changes, that iterates, a standard iterates, the situation changes, technology changes, and that swings around to, well, yeah, the way we did it back then is more applicable and appropriate for now. And so allowing our business to harmonize together in understanding what it is that we're trying to deliver and harmonizing around what we're doing for our customers allows that process to iterate. And we encourage curiosity, we encourage iteration. Like, we don't want to stand still and say, this is how we do it and this is the only way. But we set ourselves those guide rails that we don't iterate too much at risk of breaking something. And that keeps that glue together. And that really is not 10 people, that's well over 500 people driving that mandate, being part of the company. And that's something that we don't want to break. That's something that we have. And we recognize that. I certainly recognize that. Brian recognizes that. That is core to who we are. And we will do everything in our power not to break that or ignore it or take it for granted. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is, and companies that we continue to acquire will. It's easier, I guess, now to show and feel culture by being able to give examples. When we were just one business or two businesses and three businesses, that was very, very hard to make sure that we're on the right path. And now moving forward, companies that want to join AIR and become part of the team, open up the doors and come on and see it, meet the people, meet the team. So yeah, it should. I really hope we'll never lose it or take it for granted. Never ever.
And I assume it's an ongoing thing, isn't it? I mean, people will need reminders and reiterations, and you're always working on that. Is that a fair assumption?
Absolutely. It's the reminder is we don't remind people as such in that sense. The processes that we have implemented, the culture that we harvest at AIR does that. Being curious, at AIR, there's we love confronting the brutal facts in what's going on. And that's a cultural. That's a very hard thing to do. It's really hard to identify what the brutal fact of a situation is. Again, we're all human, and sometimes you want to hear what you want to hear to fit a narrative. It can be, I think, in private life as well. If you've got a sore toe and the one doctor says you have to have an operation and the other says you don't, you're like, oh, cool, I don't. You really need a third opinion to kind of settle that, right? Independent to break your own bias. And we drive a culture of confronting and first you have to identify the brutal fact. And we spent a lot of time doing that. What is the truth? Whether we like it or not? And then we assess that. And just that culture of honesty, that culture of it's okay to make a mistake. It's going to happen. We're doing very complicated things. Drives that iteration to be better, and it doesn't drive like mistakes being made and being hidden. Like it doesn't do that. It's okay to make. It's okay to mess it up. It's fine. Just let's learn from it, let's fix it, and let's move it on, because we do not want to ship something to our customer that is not what it should be. And I think within that reminder, it's always there in front of us. It's always there in front of us, and that cultural aspect to iterate and strive to be better. It just became part. It's what we do. So that reminder is indirectly there every day.
Wow, it's true collaboration, isn't
Yeah,
it? That's really what you've built. That's the answer.
Yeah.
You know, the one common way that you're getting everyone to work the same is collaboration and that encouragement. And it's a team sport, essentially, is how I'm seeing that. Yeah.
Totally. Let's, however, talk about the pressure of leadership, because this is no small operation you've got. As we said, you're at level 7. You've got more than 550 people across multiple countries, time zones. Hundreds of families rely on the decisions that you and your business partner make every day. So do you still feel the weight of that responsibility, and how do you carry it without letting it consume you?
That weight, myself and Brian feel every day. And the day I don't feel it is the day I'll stop doing the job. When that becomes, I'll stop doing the job. I balance every decision that I make, first and foremost, with the culture and the people that make AIR what it is today. The second that comes to that is in what we are delivering for our customers. And if there's ever a conflict in those things, that's where I sit down, and myself and Brian will really unpack that to make the right decision. And the weight of our people trust not only the leadership of AIR, they trust what we are building. They trust that the next thing that we're going to acquire is going to make us better. And that weighs on me every single day. I can't even describe, because I don't think people would believe it. Friends of mine always say, like, are you coming out at the weekend? And I'm like, yeah, I've got some stuff to do. And people that are very close to me get it. They're like, yeah, he's consumed with something. And I do not do a very good job at that work-life balance. The biggest weakness that I have is that. My wife will tell me all the time too, she says, the biggest thing I had to get used to you with was the way you just commit yourself to the business. The business is my life. The commitment that we make to our shareholders who trust Brian and myself to do the right thing. The people that have committed and sold their businesses to AIR, that weighs on me every day. That's what drives and motivates me every day. That informs decisions that we make, that we don't just say, yeah, let's do it and let's see what happens. I don't do that. And I do not do a great job. I do a good job at carrying that weight and owning that weight and that responsibility. But that balance between work and life, I don't do a very good job at that. Work consumes me, and that's okay, because I love it. I chose to do it. I'm fortunate to be doing what I'm doing, and I take that as the motivator in what I'm building, and the trust that people put in me, and being able to stand back at the end of the day and see the people that work for AIR having a better life, our customers having a better life, and ultimately seeing the products that come off our equipment. I mean, that's what drives me. That's my hobby. That's my hobby.
Yeah. So I think most founders we speak to at your level feel that same way. They're very tunnel visioned in. And so for anyone listening, do you have any tips on switching off and staying grounded when you're carrying that level of responsibility?
Well, just after what I said, I don't think I can give any tips.
Okay.
When I'm not doing a great job at it
that's
myself.
Fair enough. So you don't switch off at all. Okay. Nope. That's all right.
Maybe we should get your wife on here.
Maybe we'll ask her.
Yeah, exactly. This might go viral then. No, the tips I could give is, people deal with things in a different way, and in doing something like this and taking it on, a lot of successful people have said, if you're working with urgency every day, you have a chance of being successful. And really understanding that because lots of companies fail.
Yes.
At Air, we're being quite successful at what we're doing. And I tell you, if I take my foot off the gas pedal, and the team take it off, like, I don't know what happens. I'm not willing to look and see. I act with urgency every day. Our teams act with urgency every day. And I think if somebody that is trying to do this, that's not for everybody. Making that decision to it's not about putting the company first all the time. I spend a lot of time when in the evenings, you're sitting out, you're thinking about stuff. Our engineers, I can't tell you how many meetings I've gone into when the engineer starts with, I was thinking about this last night. And I had the idea. How many times I could tell you somebody said, oh, I had a dream about how we'd solve the robot. Like, people don't switch off. And certainly in that, what you just described is that you have to want, you have to love it, you have to embrace it, you have to live and breathe it. And I'd be quite happy if you find somebody that tells you that the work-life balance. I'd love to hear some examples, because the biggest criticism I would get at Air is he gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he switches off at 10 o'clock at night. He never stops. And my team tell me to take your vacation, go on holidays. We're not calling you. That is the biggest criticism that I would get. But I don't know it any other way. So I can't tell you what the flip side of that coin looks like, unfortunately.
Would you
And
say
I'm
that
too old to change now.
Yeah, that's it. Would you say that it's a fair assumption to say that you're the same person at work as you are at home then, if you're not switching off?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh,
Do
absolutely.
you want to think about that a little bit?
I just told you I sat down and wrote an iPhone app for the lack of a fuel gauge on a
I'm
motorcycle.
going to need the name of that app, by the way.
I would have hoped, though, there would have been a pint of Guinness next to you while you were writing that app, right? Just a little bit of...
At least.
Yeah.
There was a glass of whiskey on a cigar. That for sure. That's my outlet. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, funny.
Okay.
So leading a global business is a very different job from leading a small engineering team. So how has that responsibility changed you personally?
Leading a business, it's really quick. I still feel this today, and a lot of people that I would coach and mentor, I feel myself sometimes grabbing the keyboard to do it myself. When the pressure's on, when I was an individual contributor, I had control of what I was doing. If I was writing a quotation, designing a system, I was self-contained. Air would not, the company would not survive if leadership did that. So the biggest shift is taking that engineering knowledge and applying that to the mechanics of a business. And, every business is different. I guess they're all similar in they're delivering a product. They have a P&L to run. And I do see an awful lot of similarities in the mechanics of how a business, each department has to run and function. Each department has to be self-sufficient. So I do look at it in engineering solving ways. Understand the problem, understand what we're trying to do, and what are the things available to me to make that successful. And the pivot is, now I have a bigger team. Now we have bigger systems. And I make sure that when we're solving a problem, it's not an individual hero story. I always make sure that the true solve for a problem is that collective, collaborative effort, and the systems and the process help solve that, and the teamwork helps solve it. So moving from an individual engineering contributor and taking those skill sets and applying them to a business, I guess was the biggest transition for me, going from that into leadership. And then over the years, being able to hone that and play that out and make enough mistakes to be trusted with the job that I have today.
Yeah, wow.
It's an interesting observation, Kalina, that urge to, I'll just do it myself.
That's so common.
Never really leaves you, right?
No.
You still fight
No.
it by the sounds of it, Darragh.
Yes.
I do, yeah, I do. And that's not, I fight it. It pops up not through like lack of people's ability or anything like that. When things come to my table, it's typically it's typically on fire. I when I call Brian, it's like tell me something that isn't on fire. I'm like, and then you have to struggle to listen. Like if it's not on fire, you take a deep breath and you're like, oh, okay, okay, that's not normal. Why is something not on fire? And I think people in my position, typically when it comes to your desk, it's already escalated. It's already a problem. Your process might have broke down somewhere. So you're in that, I need to fix it. And when you have a big business like we do, you need to fix it fast, and you need to get to the root cause of that fast. And that's where you catch yourself. That's where you catch yourself. Not jumping into it and solving it and trying to fix it yourself. It's a balance. And in fixing a problem is where people learn. I learn, or people learn. It's where you gain knowledge. It's where you gain experience. And when somebody goes in as an individual and says, it's all done, it's all fixed, it's all good, whew, that was lucky. Like, that's not the answer, because nobody learned from it. So that's where I always find myself through the urgency. I'll do it myself. And then I catch myself and I say, well, that's not how you lead. That doesn't build an inclusive culture. That doesn't build one of mentoring or bringing people along. So it's striking that balance. It's striking that balance.
That's like that. Is it a Chinese proverb of the catch a man a fish, he'll have one meal or something, and then teach him how to fish, he'll feed for life.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. We are just about out of time and getting to the quick fire questions. But Darragh, one last question for you before we go into those. If someone listening is a few levels behind you and they're running an engineering or a services business and considering acquisitions for the first time, what's the one lesson, the cheat sheet, the shortcut that you wish someone had taught you that would have saved you the most pain?
I wouldn't say there's a shortcut. Building robust, scalable processes sounds like the easiest thing in the world, but really taking that time, because when you're building something and scaling something, urgency, everything feels like it's on fire. Taking the time and finding that balance to build the robust process around it, so the next time it happens, more people can catch it. Taking the time to do that right, knowing when to listen to that. A good friend of mine said to me, the busier and busier you get and the bigger your companies get, the harder you're going to find it to listen. I never really knew what he meant until I knew. And that's really, that is the hardest part. And that is the part that, whether you listen to it when you're told and do it is another thing. But building robust processes, procedures that you can build that good foundation upon, really, really important. Because and that is why at Air we set out to integrate ourselves from day one. It wasn't an afterthought. We did it from day one. It was part of the founding strategy of Air. We are going to do this, and we are going to build our robust processes and tools around it for that very reason. And that really sets the stage for Air to deliver better and greater things to our customers and have a company where our people can have an awful lot of fun in a technology world. So yeah, get that right up front and invest the time. It'll pay back.
Yeah, that's great advice.
It'll pay back for you.
I do have one more quick question. Is it easier running a, say, $2 million company versus a $20 million company versus a $100 and something million company, or they just have different challenges along the way?
They have different challenges along the way. They are all difficult. They are all difficult. The people running the smaller, the medium, the large are at different stages in their career. They are all difficult. They all have their challenges. One is, when I think back, I looked at an old presentation that I did in 2013. It was for a smaller problem, but it was the same challenge. The same challenge. It's just bigger. The teams are bigger. When done right and scaled right. They all have challenges, and dealing with challenges is difficult. And so no, it's running a bigger business is definitely not easier than running a small business, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you
If you
for
don't,
that.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. If you don't love the process, it's probably not for you. is
Yeah,
it?
absolutely.
It
Yeah,
doesn't get
totally.
easier.
Yeah. All right, quick fire question time.
I think so.
All right. So, Darragh, we ask our guests 10 quick fire questions. Colleen and I are going to fire them off at you.
Yep.
It's to get to know the person behind the microphone just a little bit more. So we ask you to answer them in a sentence or less, each of the questions. You ready to go, Darragh?
Mm-hmm. I am.
All righty,
Okay,
Colleen,
there.
you ready to go?
Yes, I'm
All righty.
ready. Okay. Shall I take the lead?
Yep,
okay.
way to go.
Early riser or night owl?
Oh, early. 4 a.m. every day.
Nice.
Mind you, you did say too it was a 10 p.m. finish, so
Yeah.
let's
Yeah, well, define late.
Yeah.
yeah, true. Yeah, one piece of tech you couldn't live without.
iPhone.
What's your coffee order?
I couldn't live without my iPhone.
Fair enough.
Black, no sugar, no milk,
All right.
and dark.
Dark.
The best investment you've ever made.
In myself, training, educating myself, continuously educating myself. I can only give you a sentence, but they're the investments I've made in myself. And
That's great. Office or work from home?
office. I love the collaboration. I love being around people. Teams, as COVID opened up a new world for us, but office.
Yeah.
What's your book or podcast recommendation?
I love Joe Rogan for the variety. And I love, I guess any thriller. I love the thrillers. Any thriller. Patterson, I love. But yeah, Joe Rogan podcast, very diverse. Love listening to them, and hope to be on it one day. And yeah, thrillers.
And I think I already know the
Yeah.
answer to this one. Android or iPhone?
Yeah.
iPhone. I do play with Androids though as well to understand the
okay.
technology. Surprise, surprise.
Okay. Yeah. You don't often hear that, right?
No.
I love seeing products iterate and the technologies, and I live in the same world. How can I do it better? And I love to see how different phones, different models do that.
What's your go-to productivity hack?
Time management during the day, setting blocks of time aside to get tasks done. I'm rigorous about that. I block time aside. If I have 10 things to get done, I prioritize when they're getting done and block manage that through time. And if I'm not finished it, I stop it and I move on and get back to that then at the end when it's settled and the brain is allowed to do what it is designed to do and think about things while I'm working on something else.
Nice. What was your first job?
Car mechanic.
There we go.
A car mechanic in
That adds
Ireland. While I was at school. Yeah, car mechanic. Yeah, it does add up.
All right, last one, Darragh. If you weren't doing what you do now, what career would you choose?
I would have liked to have been a lawyer.
Wow.
I love litigating, mitigating. I love really understanding the problem to put that best foot forward. And I think if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, I think I would have been a lawyer. At one stage, I thought I would have wanted to be a pilot, but that never happened. I think that wouldn't have been for me.
Yeah.
The diversity and challenge, I think, is where a lawyer would have been. I would have enjoyed.
All right. And I've just got one final question for you. If business truly is a game, Darragh de Stonndún, what is your definition of winning?
I think if the company runs better because of the systems and the people and the standards that we built, and we keep doing right by our customers when I'm not the one making the call, if that's the case, that's winning.
Ooh, yeah. Great answer. All right. And where can our listeners find you and your business online?
Industrialrobotics.com is where you'll find us, and on LinkedIn, and pretty much at all the big automation trade shows. And if anybody's interested in learning more about AIR, just reach out. We'd love to tell you all about it.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
This has
thank you.
been,
That's great.
I've learned so much about robotics and the systems,
Yeah.
and I'm a systems gal, so I feel like everything you were saying, I was like, yep. So thank you so much.
No, you're very welcome. Very much enjoyed talking.
Yeah, thank you, Darragh. I love that that urge to do it never leaves you, right?
Yes.
Like that's no matter how big the company gets. That's a really important self-check-in for people, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
That's when you know you're doing something you love. That's when you know you're doing something you love.
Wow.
All right. Well, that's all we've got time for. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to The Business Game and check out the playlist for the level of business you're currently playing.
Because every founder is somewhere on the game board, from zero all the way to $200 billion.
Choose your level, and we'll see you next time.
This is the